So, what a way to end all the chapters of Black Clover. Yay, we got a date! Oh, we're going to talk about this, ain't we? The double date in the festival. Let's get right into it, guys, because, yeah, it's a fucking double date. I don't know what else to say about it. So, actually, being honest, I know, like, a lot of people thinking, like, oh god, here we go, Panda's gonna fucking talk shit about the chapter, here we fucking go. It's like, no, honestly, the chapter, yeah, you had some chuckles and all that, and it actually has some real important stuff right at the very end of it, but I've got to say, like, there's so much that you can really talk about in a review-wise when they're literally going, let's go out, let's have a date, let's enjoy ourselves, and where, like, it's kind of where we imagine where, like, yeah, Noelle's gonna be super nervous and blushy, so, oh, what am I gonna do about Asta and all that, and, like, you know, like, literally seeing Kahono's like, yeah, like, Yato, they're like, yeah, and all that, this is to me, the goddess of the sea grow closer, right, and all that, he's like, that's my sister for you, thank you, Kahono, like that, and Asta's just like, what the fuck is a date? Like, he's literally, what is going on? And the fact that, like, Kahono is literally using this as a fucking chance to get closer to that Asta booty. He's like, hey, let's go have some fun, and it's just like, you got fucking wrecked. Like, literally Shrek'd on Noelle. You better step that fucking game up. And literally throughout, like, most of the whole, like, the entirety of the festival, it's just those two spending time to each other and just Asta, like, when, like, there's just a great bit, I would say, it's like when they're doing, like, fucking the shooting gallery, and Asta's face is there, like, trying to put out a tiny bit of magic. It looks like, it's like one of those faces you put when you bust it up that she keeps on sucking, it's just like Asta's face, oh, it's just going beyond. I was like, okay, that was actually quite funny there. And just, like, seeing all this, and the biggest question to all of them was exactly the one thing that, like, what exactly Kahono said is, like, what is Noelle to you? After everything, and I was like, oh, we're gonna finally, are we gonna actually address this now, or is it just gonna be a little jokey thing? And turns out it got completely disruptive because there's a little kid lost, and of course, all the noble pieces of shit okay, oh, she looks like she's a fucking peasant, she's got, like, poor clothes and all that, and Silver, like, she immediately steps in and saying, what's wrong, are you crying? And Asta, being how he is and all that, decides to cheer, like, this kid the fuck up, and he's just like, I'm gonna, like, do dancing around, do goofing around. Kahono, Kiyato decide to, like, do singing and dancing, like, make the whole thing, like, lively, and I thought that's pretty fucking cool. Like, I kind of like that, even, like, you know, you got to see, like, Noelle, like, getting involved in it as well with, like, the magic, and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, they're showing it, and it's just like, oh yeah, like, what's your name and all that, and it's like, we finally find out with this little girl, Emma, and all that, it's exactly, it's just like, oh, they find out, like, this little girl, and a little bit more about Noelle, where she's like, you know, exactly, and she kind of really shows off against, like, all these nobles, they don't, no matter and all that, like, royal nobles, commoners, peasants, and all that, none of that matters. I'm going to make sure everyone enjoys the festival together, like, throughout all of that, and, like, all the nobles are just, like, looking at her, just like, whoa, hey, no one's done this shit before, like, what the fuck with that, and then exactly, like, where, like, Asta just gets, like, just goes straight up and saying, I like you, Noelle, I guess, and I was like, and she completely blushes because she's like, did you just confess to me? And it's like, and even fucking Kahono can confirming it, saying she's, like, he's thick as fuck, and she's a tsundere, so yeah, that's exactly what happens when, like, you get shit like that happening, and one of the weirdest parts, and I guess like that's pretty much where, like, the entire jokey part of the chapter ends, and we get one confirmation which I was like, oh, like, who's this girl, like, this, like, pretty lady that was just, like, there, and turns out she's one of the fucking captain now. Like, after all of that, I was like, oh, and all that, it was the Blue Rose captain that we hadn't seen in, like, fucking chapters and all that. We ain't seen this bitch in a while, and she's like, it looks really weird. Like, even when I saw her, I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, and everyone was like, we're so used to having the little curls and shit like that. And the fact is, like, you know, how they're talking about, like, oh yeah, the Blue Rose captain encounters that man, so Yami's definitely going to be in the next chapter. We see her little subordinate as well, and I think next chapter should be kind of the finale, like, I think, like, all the jokey stuff for what's going to be happening from it, so I feel there's going to be a little bit about that, and also as well, we're going to be setting up with this bitch as well, like, a little bit of, like, her relationship as well with Yami, and I think, like, overall, it's a fine chapter. Like, the two I thought were okay, but then again, I wasn't, like, blown away, like, by some of this and all that, and I think, like, you know, like, Yami would be like, I had no idea, like, I bet he either did something to her, or he's like, yeah, I prefer, yeah, I'll marry her, or some stupid shit like that, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that, like, because I imagine Yami being that kind of guy, but still, The chapter was fine, but then again, it wasn't anything, like, super impressive compared to, like, the other chapter. And I hate saying that, like, comparing it to other chapters that came out the week and all that. But it was a goofy, fun, on the side one. It just, honestly, like I said, this is all I can really talk about with the chapter. There's not too much information I can get out of this, or it's like, oh, let's dissect this, let's look at this part. It's just goofy, dumb, and that's what you're going to get with it. And then, like, the literal last couple of pages was like, oh, yeah, a little bit more hinting at, like, Asta and, like, Noelle's relationship, and then just looking at the fact that we finally got to see the Blue Rose Captain after all this time, and the fact that we're going to be seeing some stuff with Yami pretty soon. So that's pretty much all I can say about it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below what you thought about the chapter. Honestly, it was meh to me. Like, I enjoyed it, but I was like, I really want next week to come around so I can actually see what's going to be happening. But that's all from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.